y'all, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Sierra and I post videos on this channel every single Friday. I post Christian booktube content, so if you're into that kind of thing, I highly recommend pressing subscribe. Today I'm going to be doing a book review of an absolutely amazing book. Like, if I could give it 6 out of 5 stars, I would, but like 5 out of 5. Amazing. I was just blown away by this book. Like, literally, it was so amazing. Yeah, I don't want to spend the whole time raving about it, but like I also do want to spend the whole time raving about it because I just want y'all to read it so badly. So the book I'm going to be talking about is The Paris Dressmaker by Christy Cambrin. This is a wartime World War II fiction book set in Paris, and it follows 2 main characters. So first we have, I'm gonna try and say their French names maybe the proper way. If you know how to say it properly, please forgive me. I'm sorry. But the first character is Lila De Laurent, and she is the Paris dressmaker. She is like a seamstress and makes dresses for the upper class, like the socialites, or I think that's how you say it, of like Paris. And then we also follow, like, our other main character is Sandrine. I pronounce it Sandrine. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it. Is it Sandrine? I don't know. I'm just gonna say it the way I think I want to say it. So Sandrine is very different from Lila. Her story basically revolves around how she works with the resistance in Paris against the Nazi occupation while working for the Nazis. And she works at a museum, basically like cataloging stolen artwork from prominent Jewish households. And the curator of the museum, as well as her co-worker, they are all part of the resistance. Just the story is about how she defies the Nazis that she has to work under. And it's an amazing story. And then Lila's story basically follows her from where she was this very prominent dressmaker to kind of her like running away from the Nazis because she was also working against them within the resistance. The way the book is written, the way each chapter is written actually, is quite different from any other book I've read, really. So each chapter is distinct, like you see if it's from Lila's perspective or Sandrine's perspective, but within each chapter there is, like, the first half of the chapter starts with a scene from the beginning of the war, and then the second half of the chapter is a scene kind of from a story that like goes on a timeline. Does that make sense? I think it does. So basically Lila has a story and we get to see that story play out in the second half of each of her chapters, and then the first half is a scene from like before that kind of gives context to the second half. It's kind of like a flashback, if that makes sense, and the same with Sandrine. And like, it doesn't make sense when I'm saying it, but when you're reading it, it makes so much sense why it was written that way, and like you need the context of some of the earlier scenes to like give you the context. I know I've said context a lot, but like give you like why they are saying and doing certain things within their stories. I mentioned this when I unboxed this book, but I have never read any wartime fiction set in Paris, and I know a little bit about the occupation of Paris by the Nazis, but not a lot, and I definitely learned so much from this book about really how awful it was for everyone involved, like not just the Jews, but for kind of all Parisians who didn't agree with the Nazis. It was awful. And the stories of both of these women working within the resistance was, it was so wonderful because both of them, the way they worked was so different. Like, Lila was a like single young woman working within the business of dressmaking, And Sandrine, she was married, is a mother, and she basically was forced to work for the museum she was at. And like that comes out in the story why she was forced, but her work for the resistance was quite different than Lila's. But both of their stories did kind of come together. They met once, but they didn't realize that they were meeting each other because Lila was using a fake name and Lila also didn't know who Sandrine was. It was so, like, I just kind of wanted to scream at them at that scene. I was like, help each other! You know who each other is! But, like, obviously they didn't. They didn't know they were both working for the resistance. I love that the whole storyline of them fighting back in the only way that they knew how. It just was so touching and beautiful. I quite enjoyed it. The one thing, like one of the other things that made this book absolutely amazing to me was the writing style. Christy Cameron has obviously been like gifted by God with the way she can use words. I was not expecting it. Like from the first chapter, I was like, hold up, this is like really good writing. There are some books that I can read and like kind of see the like stamp of uniqueness, knowing like, okay, this author wrote that. Like it's just written in so well that this was written by this one author, if that makes sense. And this book, I haven't read any other Christy Cameron books, but I have a feeling it's probably in those as well. It was so unique, so masterfully written. Her choice of words, her choice of description, just, like chef's kiss, beautiful. I adored it. Like, I really want to read her other books because I'm sure they are also written the same way, like same beauty within a, honestly, like not a horrifying story, but a war story. It's not pretty, like it's war. And another thing that people are always like gonna hear in my videos when I'm talking about a good book is, well, really two things. The first is character development. Both characters developed so well, each in their own way, in their like relationships with the other characters in the story. Oh man, I literally never shut up about character development because it makes or breaks a book, in my opinion. If the character is flat and barely changes at all from point A to point B, start to finish, then it's not a good book. Like it's not a good character. That was wonderful. Both Lila and Sandrine developed so phenomenally, and again, like each in their own separate ways and the own lives and work that they had. I loved it so much. And then the second thing that also makes or breaks a favorite for me is how raw and like real the story is, and this one was so very raw and real. The emotions, the like the fear in different parts of the story was just, there was hardly any, I want to say there was no cliche at all in this book. It was so good and so raw and real, and just showed like the truth of what the war was in Paris and what it really looked like. And then of course this was written, this is labeled as Christian fiction. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Both characters were Christians. Both characters leaned on their faith, leaned on God in the crucial parts of the story. I would also say they developed in their faith. That was 100% part of their development as characters, individuals, Christians. Obviously, like, that is another thing that I really like in books because I am a Christian and I read mostly Christian fiction. So it was well written. It tied into the plot. I really liked the inclusion of God and faith in this book. Every part mattered. Every scene, every bit of dialogue was key and crucial and so important to the conclusion of the book. And I quite enjoyed it. I highly recommend that you read it if you haven't already. If you have, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to chat with other people who have read The Paris Dressmaker. And if you haven't, go get it, go read it, and then come back to this video and tell me that you have. But yeah, that's kind of all of my thoughts on it. I definitely want to get some other Christy Cameron books to read and maybe share my thoughts on in the future, like way down the road in the future, because I have a lot of other books that I want to read between now and then. But yeah, let me know if you liked this video and if there are any other like wartime books that you would like me to read and review. I am always down for a good wartime fiction, mostly World War II, but I love World War I as well. So let me know. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want more content like this. But I will see you in my next video. Until then, bye!